Welcome to Uninformed. I'm your host, John Clark, and gulping down a sweet, sickly, lychee beer, it's Harrison Lee.
To beer or not to beer?
Feeling hot, 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 slammed down a red-hot chili beer, it's Andrew Finn.
Good evening, all.
And drinking water, it's Tucker.
Hey. No, that makes sense.
This week, guys, we've got a couple of discussions for you, some information about how the PlayStation 4 is doing in Japan, some home security and automation talk from Harry, and some LG talk from Finney, as well as following up with Tucker about the latest Broadwell chip delays. So I'm going to start right off with you, Finney, with follow-up.
Follow-up, I'm not sick anymore.
What were you sick with?
I had the flu.
Oh,
which I believe I gave to you.
You must have, because I got it right after Saturday night. That sounded sexual, but...
Yes, it did indeed.
That was extremely sexual.
Oh.
We just hung out, guys!
We didn't do anything!
That's all we did. If you can't tell, now I'm sick, so... You know, if you hear me sniffing during the broadcast, please go fuck yourself, I don't care. Tucker, any follow-up from you this week, or no?
No, none this week. Just waiting for the international to start. You know the finals.
Well, I've been watching the playoffs a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what's going on in Dota 2, it's really hard to follow it all. It's just really hard. They are doing that
Isn't
newcomer
that true
stream.
of any sport?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
pretty
guess. But, I mean, you know, at the very least with soccer, you can go, like, 2 goals, ball goes in goal, someone wins. So.
Fair enough.
Well, generally, if you're listening to a good stream with a good couple of presenters, you can kind of catch on quite fast. But I found that some streams were really good, but others had really bad presenters, so I just switched stream.
Yeah.
So if you are watching it, make sure you're watching it in the Dota 2 client. So I think that's far better.
Okay, I shall do that. Harry, what did you get up to this weekend?
You know that expression, face your enemy and all that? You've still left 3 chili beers at my place.
If you guys don't know what he's talking about, we uploaded a video actually to the YouTube channel. You should check it out. We tried some interesting beers, didn't we, Finney?
Yeah. It did not go well, I think.
We tried lychee beer, which was at first really good. We all drank and went, oh yeah, it's not so. And then as it went down our throat, it just turned to ash or something, and it was disgusting.
Worse.
And then there was the chili beer that just outright tasted terrible from second number 1.
Oh.
Yeah, that was.
But that ended well. Like the chili beer had a good aftertaste with the chili.
Yeah, good afterburn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just getting there wasn't worth it. It was like eating a really nice curry without the eating a really nice curry part.
Wow.
Well, you consider chili afterburn a good thing?
It's great.
Yes,
That's the best part of spicy food.
Wait. I think
No.
I'm referring to the afterburn in one's mouth. I'm not talking about, that's such an unfortunate event that occurs after, Indian restaurants.
Oh,
Good. There's a bit ambiguous there, so you should clarify it.
Yeah, I will. So yes, I still have 3 of these chili beers in my place.
Harry?
I don't like to waste food, but I may have to throw them out.
Yeah, there's this thing called a sink.
No. You guys have Friday afternoon beers or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
so
at work?
yes,
I am not going to poison my co-workers.
Yeah, that wouldn't end well.
No, you need to save them, Harry. There are starving children in Africa who need chili beer.
Oh, harsh.
Why would you pour that down the sink?
If the Red Cross came to them with that, I would not blame them if whatever country they went to declared war on the Red Cross.
Indeed. Some quick follow-up from me. Just so you guys are all aware, we are still uploading Uninformed plays and Uninformed clips up to the YouTube channel, and you should continually check them out. There'll be at least 1 per week of us playing Hearthstone, Counter-Strike, finally finishing Ghost Recon, whatever. And that's also where we'll put up whatever we do, whenever we do sort of a D&D night sometime in the near future. Now, that's follow-up out of the way. On to the news. Harry, what have you got for us?
Them news. Well, my news is a bit of a discussion piece regarding home security and where it's going. You guys know about Google's purchase of Nest, and just up on show notes I've thrown the latest in security, which is called... It's either pronounced Novi or Novi. How would you pronounce that?
Novi.
Novi? Novi Security, which is like one of those wireless security devices. You can get it for about $200 in the States, or more than 360 down here in Australia. Woohoo!
Woohoo.
Go Australia!
Fuck that.
And you know, it's just one of those things that you can stick in your own apartment. It works as a smoke detector, takes pictures, sends it all off to your Android or iOS device, and it basically puts your home security in your hands. And obviously, everyone trusts themselves. But I mean, this is obviously not entirely fail-safe. I mean, do you guys remember when you signed for your internet contract and stuff? You had to waive a thing saying this is not going to be for a security system or anything. Do you recall that?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is going to work just like that. This will just be over the Wi-Fi, and it's not going to be some kind of underlying infrastructure setup to a security company. So what do you reckon the future of home security is? Is this thing going to kill it, or is the old-fashioned approach always going to be there?
Well, just quickly on this particular one, the Novi, it's not an actual product yet, if I can tell. It's a Kickstarter project that has yet to reach its goal, it seems. It says down the bottom there, original goal was 80,000, it's raised 111,000, and then it's now going for 150,000.
Yeah, it seems like it's hit its goal. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm just going to Kickstarter page. But either way, yeah, no, in general, home security, home automation, things like Nest, and there's the Nest thermostat, but then there's also the Nest, the smoke detector as well. Did you see what happened when they got bought by Google?
No, what happened?
There were, a bunch of different towns had Nest burnings, and a whole bunch of people started burning all their Nest products. Because,
What?
Because they're like, well, Google knows too much about us already. I don't want Google in my home as well. So they bought Nest because it was from ex-Apple engineers, and they wanted, Apple-level quality. They don't want Google-level spying, so they got rid of them. Home automation itself, though, it's cool. It's... I don't know how much I'd use it, but...
I can tell you from experience in my industry, it doesn't work terribly well at the moment.
As a robber?
Yeah, a professional crook. No, it's just the ones that I have seen that have controlled, you've got the pool systems linked up to all the home systems as well. And from what I've seen, we're constantly getting called out to try and fix them. They just don't appear to work at the moment. I think it's because it's relatively new and it needs a lot of work, but from what I've seen, they haven't worked all that well.
Is there any kind of uniformity across the systems, though, or is each brand a completely different technology?
Completely different, none of them make sense. So hopefully relying on something like Google or Apple to do it for them, it's been taken out of the hands of the monkeys and been put in the hands of people who know what they're doing, or supposedly know what they're doing.
Yeah, so that's what HomeKit was announced at WWDC, the sort of a framework for communicating and controlling connected devices in someone's home.
I was about to mention that.
Yeah, and I'm sure Google hasn't announced something yet, I don't think, but I'm sure they have something in the works, otherwise why would they buy Nest? Fuck, if Google bought Next, it's like, well, once again, 90s again. Being able to trigger it using Siri and all that sort of stuff. So Apple's already there, and I'm sure Google's not far behind, but it depends on the particular products to support HomeKit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which could be interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll at least say from a developer point of view, it is becoming more popular amongst developers. People, we've already got the Internet of Things, and home automation is just an extension on that idea. So you can be able to control your lights, your thermostat, whatever you want, just by, connecting it to the correct components. And then you can start writing, say, apps or programs to help start monitoring and, configuring it. So, actually, speaking of which, I believe Intel's releasing one of these, it's their equivalent of those circuit boards we can start programming on it. I can't remember what it was bloody called.
Raspberry Pi.
No. So Raspberry Pi is the Linux version, but Intel is releasing a Windows-based version. What was
Is it more powerful than a piece of cardboard? Because that's basically what Raspberry Pi is.
Yes.
Hey, Raspberry Pi
Raspberry
is
Pi is
pretty
awesome.
Raspberry Pi.
No, Raspberry Pis are really good. They're cheap, but the hardware's terrible.
That's the idea. That's why they're cheap.
Yeah, I know, but you can... never mind.
You can run a
I'd
server off
I'd
it.
rather pay more, like slightly more, for better components than a Raspberry Pi, which is, I want to watch a DVD. I'm going to have to wait half an hour.
Well, you're not the market, Finney. It's
Well, no,
it's
I don't.
for
I
developing
tried to
countries.
use Linux
Yes,
once
people like
and I
me.
had a headache.
Yeah. So it's for developing countries who are trying to teach their kids, programming and soldering and all that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah.
That's
Way
right.
back when I was contemplating strapping helium balloons to all my iPhones. Something I learnt was that the most common type of instrumentation they use on weather balloons are Raspberry Pis. They're very good for they got a large temperature range. They work in very cold temperatures and stuff, and it doesn't matter if they get shook around a bit. So it's just the perfect kit.
Also,
to-
they're about
to throw up there.
$35 each, so if it falls out of the sky and breaks, you're not exactly going to shed a tear for it.
Exactly.
Found it. Intel Galileo board. That's good. No, it's good. It looks like you'll be able to program using C# on these.
Your
Yeah.
favorite.
In conjunction with, obviously, C++, but yeah, very interesting.
Well, Harry, what's your opinion on the whole home automation thing?
Well, it's ironic because I would be the first person to adopt this, but since I live next door to work, by free luck, I get to piggyback off work's security system. So if anyone breaks down my door, I get the work alarm that goes off. But if I lived, by myself or something, I would totally use this because I'm very tech happy. I have a pretty automated home already. I've finally found an app that can trick my Mac Pro into thinking that my Android is a iPhone, so I can remote control iTunes. And unfortunately, I've yet to find.
Nothing.
I've yet to find an Australian-approved board that will allow me to control my lights from my phone.
Well, with CloudKit, you can.
CloudKit. Explain CloudKit.
Just did. Just
Really?
Just a second ago. Oh, CloudKit? I meant HomeKit. CloudKit's another thing as well. But
I was about to say, John has the worst way of explaining CloudKit. He goes, "Oh, yes, CloudKit can do it." I'm like, "Can do what?" He goes, "Can do it."
Can
Google
do everything.
CloudKit and you'll find all the answers. I'm like,
CloudKit gives you a bunch of storage. Gives you a petabyte for free for you to use for your apps, and you get a certain amount per user. So you don't have to have a web server. You don't have to have an app server running somewhere. You can just make your app, get it up and running, and then you don't have to worry about paying money to Amazon or someone to have a server. And then you
Yeah,
can
how does
scale.
that turn on and off my thermostat?
Oh, no, that's separate. That's CloudKit. HomeKit
Yeah.
is the framework I was just talking about.
Right,
So
right.
If you want to turn on and off your lights and stuff, use the things like the Philips lights. You've seen those things?
Yeah, but they plug into existing light bulbs. I'm talking about I've got banks of fluoros in my place.
Well,
so
okay. They can't do everything.
I want no, it's the same thing. It's just a switch. I just want a junction box switch instead of a switch on the wall.
I see.
Yeah.
Sure, you could. There would be a way to do it without having to use a third-party developer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you need
could develop
hardware
it
for this
You
thing.
could develop it yourself, Harry.
Oh, do it yourself home,
It's
240-volt electronics. I
Yeah.
love it.
Can only end well.
Yeah.
We use some serious voltage in Australia. It's not to be messed around with.
It's
You've
a
got three-phase power in your house.
Oh, yeah.
It's an open framework, so you can use it if you want to. Get Tucker to develop the app for you and all that, and then you do the hardware.
Cool.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure that it's not hard to find components that would run on like light bulbs and switches, conjunction boxes, that kind of stuff. Because I remember my manager saying he pretty much hooked up all his electronics at his house, and then he was also controlled by, I think it was either his Logitech remote thing or an app. So it's definitely doable, and that sounds completely awesome, and I totally want to do it when I get my own place.
Cool. But do you know what the most difficult thing is going to be? Deciding what voice activation is going to turn the lights on in my home. Because, home activate sounds alright, but I think I can do better. Engage home.
Megatron activate.
Raise shields.
Raise shields. You could do the whole, like, hello, Amy. Hello, Commander. That sort of thing, like when you walk into the house. Could do something like
it's
that.
clear that you use the
I can't
Stanley
do that
power.
for you, Dave.
Yeah. No, I'll give the computer a cute little Japanese girl voice or something.
Haru-san! Welcome to your home!
Now we just need hologram projectors, and my work here is done.
Well, you're halfway there. You got the pillows. So
Yeah, it was like what's it, Krieger from Archer.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That'd be hilarious. Just be standing there like an apron just in the kitchen, just to wait for you to come back.
Yeah.
Just cooking something, and it's like,
She could play StarCraft for you instead of you playing it.
Oh, she'd be better than me.
yes, we'd finally have a solid threes.
So,
Anyway.
speaking of chips, Tucker, tell me your story tonight.
Oh, yes. So, I think news was leaked originally from China about the delay in the Intel's Broadwell chips. So, yeah, I thought it'd be an interesting discussion, how this affects most of the new products coming out at the end of this year. Mainly the new MacBook Pro release.
Yep.
Which saddens me because I was wanting to get a new MacBook Pro at the end of the year, but now I've got to wait till 2015.
Sorry.
Not happy.
Clue us noobs in about this chip.
It's just Intel's next chip. So currently they're using Haswell chips, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be the next step up from that. But Intel originally said that they were aiming or were pretty much guaranteeing a Christmas season release, but that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So it appears that maybe next February, March is when full production and release will happen. So
And now the new Mac Pro will probably be pushed back as well, like the this year's revision of the Mac Pro, because they were forced to put Haswell chips in the Mac Pro, and now they're going to have to. They're not just going to release another one with a bump in specs. They're going to have to wait for Broadwell.
Yeah.
So
well,
Haswell's fine for now, but the whole point of the Broadwell was, like we were discussing a few episodes ago, the thing between Atom processors and not Atom. What are they called?
ARM
processors.
Yeah, ARM chips and Intel and all that sort of thing. This is Intel's, like we were saying, how Intel is going to try to become better at being ARM than ARM is at being Intel. This is their next step in that, and so I guess it's delayed.
Yeah. Well, the main feature of these chips wasn't just the obvious increase in processing power, but the actual serious focus on battery. So they were predicting much better returns for, basically you get better performance, and we also get extended battery life. And I think that's what most people were excited about.
Yeah,
and
that's what Haswell did.
Yes,
Haswell,
but Broadwell's going to take it further.
Yeah, so Haswell, like a MacBook Air running Haswell, gets you 18 hours of battery life.
That's ridiculous.
But on Broadwell, it's meant to be, up to almost a full day, pretty much, with even better performance. So they're trying to get there, and the next step is obviously chucking it in a tablet. But it won't be in an iPad because Apple makes and
they make their own chips.
They fab their own chips, and it won't be in another tablet because nobody has another tablet than an iPad. Finny.
I believe Android currently dominates the tablet market.
Harry, you would be very wrong in that assumption.
That would mean that Google outright lied in their press conference at I.O.
I'd look again at what they actually said. The
Alright.
the iPad has 85% of the tablet market.
That's not what Google said.
Well, Google
does know everything.
Google
I
would
ask
have-
its questions every day, John.
Google would have said something along the lines of, like, they would have qualified it like 1,000 times. So it's like, well, in this quarter of the thing, our growth of the tablet market was 400%. It's like 400% of 1 is 4. So it would have been something along those lines.
I don't think so.
Definitely would have.
Anyway, I will find that news piece and I will bombard you with it.
Great.
Moving on.
Moving on. Yeah, so what do you think, Tucker? So you were looking for a MacBook Air towards the end of the year.
Oh, dear God, no,
MacBook
not
Pro.
Air. I was an
MacBook
actual
Pro, sorry,
MacBook Pro.
Pro.
Yeah. I was hoping to get one at the end of the year. But now I suspect that Apple's probably going to do not a refresh of the line, just an update. Probably bump an extra 100 hertz onto the CPUs and go, hey, new MacBooks are out and they're $100 more expensive, but you get you get an extra 100 megahertz on the CPU, which results in a sweet fuck all.
Yeah.
Seriously, it does absolutely nothing to the computer if you bump an extra 100 hertz onto it.
Yeah.
You'll never notice it. They go, oh, it's faster than the previous generation, and we're going to charge only extra $100 for it. So.
Yeah, so, I mean, according to the Holy Bible for when you should buy Macs, the Mac Rumors Buying Guide, the Retina MacBook Pro, 265 days since its last release, and they've just brought up the whole Broadwell chips being delayed, so they are going to release, and it says update soon, don't buy. So they are going to update it soon, it's just a matter of, just a matter of what they're going to put into it this time. So.
Yeah.
Finney, what do you got for us this week?
LG's rolling televisions. So, basically, they're ultra-flat screen TVs that you can roll up into, like a piece of paper, basically. They've just announced them. They won't be on sale till something like 2017, although they're predicting an Ultra HD rollable TV by then. They unveiled one of their first flexible TVs at CES earlier in the year. Basically, I think it's really cool technology because, from what they've shown, you just grab this television, which is pretty damn good quality, and roll it up into as I said, like a piece of paper. Just that way, basically, think of a tablet. If your tablet was a rollable screen, you just roll it up, shove it into your backpack, go to work, and it's all of a sudden become a hell of a lot more useful because you could just, if you're on a work site or something, bring in a 60-inch television rolled up to nowhere near that size, roll it up on a workbench, and all of a sudden you've got a massive screen to show people. Go into a presentation, blue tack it to a wall, all of a sudden you've got these really awesome televisions that you can stick anywhere and use for so much more purpose than a conventional hard television. Because it's never been done before, I think it's fascinating. Just the technology behind it's pretty awesome as well. Because this means absolutely nothing to me, but they say the flexibility was achieved thanks to using a backplane made of high molecular substance-based polyamide film instead of plastic.
It's good to know that the substance has lots of molecules in it.
So I have no idea what the hell that means, but it sounds cool. And the footage that I've seen and the pictures that I've seen, they literally just pick this damn thing up, roll it up, and walk off with it, and it still works. I mean, you obviously have to plug it into power somewhere, but it's... The uses for it are just endless as far as I can see. I could see it being used in almost every area. And they've become as cheap as what modern tablets are becoming, excluding Apple stuff, because it's overpriced.
Just had to put that in there, didn't you?
No, well, it's true. There's no denying it. It's overpriced garbage.
I have a different value proposition for different people, you might say. Now, when are they saying these are sort of coming out on the market?
2017, LG said. Because there aren't any commercially available ones yet, but they're confident they can deliver a 60-inch rollable panel by 2017.
Okay.
So add 2 years onto that, and you've got a rough release date.
And obviously it'll be very expensive when it comes out, and then 5 years later be cheap, because, I mean, at the moment, I think LG's top TVs, they're saying it's like pencil thin, and it's $9,000.
Yeah.
So it will be expensive, but I guess, normal people...
All new technologies are.
Yeah, normal people aren't going to buy this immediately. It'll be, idiots like us who want to show off with their rollable TV.
Well, I remember I read when I was a teenager, I had these books which were all predicting technologies of the future, and one of them was a rollable television. Basically, it was a tablet that you just roll up, put into your bag, and then pull it out whenever you need it. So this is... Well, I always thought that was one of the most interesting things I saw when I was 14, but now that it's sort of within reach, I just can't help but think of the areas you could use it in.
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't have the problem that plans have. Have you ever rolled up plans for buildings, A3 plans and stuff?
Yeah.
It's actually, not that flexible. Like, I hope it's got some rigidity to it, so it sort of snaps into place. Like, those wristbands you can get, like the Achievement Hunter ones that we had?
Yeah, that would be cool. There's obvious problems that when you roll it up too many times, it develops a memory, so you have to throw it out
Yeah.
to get a new one.
It's like LCD burn.
Except
You mean
it's
plasma
physical.
burn?
Except it's physical.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool, Finny. I'm excited for that. We've heard about that for years and years and years, but they've always just done, technical, sort of technical demos and stuff of it, but no actual plans for it to come out to be a working product. So it's good to see they're working towards it.
I'm really looking forward to them.
Now, some news from Japan.
Oh dear.
Apparently the PS4 is struggling big time in Japan. Now, PlayStation, obviously the bastion of PlayStation. PlayStation, yep, words. Japan,
John
the
Goodlike.
bastion. John Goodlike. Japan, the bastion of PlayStation, obviously. Xboxes never sell anything there. In fact, it's still not even out there. It probably won't ever come out there, the Xbox One.
I thought they were going to do a September release or something.
Yeah,
like
they
they're
might.
going to release Destiny and then release it in Japan
That might.
like on 360, and then they won't sell anything in Japan on 360.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, on the Xbox One.
Yeah, it'll come out and it'll sell 4 units because they never do that. So PlayStation's huge up until now. It looks like everyone's sort of going into the mobile market. It would be my guess. Apparently, the Vita, the Japanese market's the only place in the world where the Vita is actually selling quite well. And people buying iPhones and people buying Android phones and tablets and using that for gaming, like handheld gaming, way more than they are buying consoles. It's much more of a declining market for consoles, as opposed to the West, where the console market is actually getting, much bigger. The PS4 in America has now outsold the PS2 within the PS2's time frame.
That's easy. That's because Americans are becoming less and less mobile.
My freedoms. Apparently, it's only sold 620,000 units in Japan.
I wasn't expecting to be that low.
And even worse, the even worse punch, the Wii U outsold the PS4 over the last couple of weeks.
Oh,
Yeah,
we all felt that one.
yeah. Another thing that I reckon it probably is there's no Japanese games, and Japanese players famously don't play Western games, and there are no Japanese games anymore. So, Tucker, you're a big Japanese gamer. Do you reckon that would be? I mean, you're not Japanese and you play games. You play Japanese games.
Correct.
Just had to get that out there, Tucker-san. Do you feel there's been less Japanese games recently, the past 5 to 10 years?
I'm trying to recall my actual trip to Japan and going through Akihabara, and just trying to picture in my head, like, I did see PS4s advertised, and I'm just trying to recall going through the PS4 sections of all these stores, and yeah, I can't remember seeing that many Japanese games for PS4, in comparison to Western titles.
Oh, so you're saying there are a lot of Japanese games?
No, I'd say there's not as many as you expect.
Not as
Like,
many.
if you look at PS2, PS3, there is a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
Japanese-based games.
Yeah.
But comparing it to PS4, I can't remember there being like a substantial, oversize of these games. So yeah, like I would completely agree. Like the PS4 didn't take up that much shelf space compared to the other titles, but that's probably just a fact that there's not that much quantity of PS4 games compared to 360 and PS3. But they did have a lot of figurines in those stores, so maybe that's taking up the space.
Yeah.
Oh, I was shocked. I was like, entire sections dedicated to, anime and gaming figures.
No anime talk. Stop. Stopping this right
Wait,
now.
where's Cullen? That's his cue. Come on, Cullen.
Stopping this immediately.
Get him in.
Stopping this immediately. Mark Cerny, who's the system architect of the PS4, he says that it's because products are not there yet to compel the people to buy the console. We'll have a much better read on it a year or two after the Japanese publishers start releasing those interesting titles. Another thing that a lot of people don't really think about, I think, is the rise in the West of things like Netflix and Hulu and buying stuff from iTunes and all that sort of stuff. we stream video all the time. Amazon Video, we stream video. America streams video, and a lot of people are using the PS4 and the Xbox One for that purpose as well as games. Almost 50-50. Well, in Japan, they just don't do that. It's all about crazy game shows on TV, and buying
They're so crazy.
buying anime DVDs and all that sort of stuff. It's less about actually streaming stuff. It's probably 10 years sort of behind the West when it comes to these sorts of streaming services, despite the fact that they've got way better internet than us. So I reckon that's another aspect to it. Harry and Finney, you're both sort of, you like PlayStation, right? Or Andrew? No, Finn, you were Xbox guy, weren't you?
I've had a PS1, an Xbox, and an Xbox 360.
And Harry, were you ever a PlayStation guy?
Nope.
Okay, so
PC Master Race right from square one.
that's a given. I mean, when it comes to our console preferences, I guess you just had a poor childhood without any consoles.
Yeah, parents were convinced that I could have been doing homework on that computer, and instead I was playing Mech Warrior.
How'd you do with that test, son? I smashed it. I mean, I did very well.
It went very nominally. Terrible.
All answers were nominal.
That's what I should have said. Edit that out for me.
Yeah, it's all right.
So what did you learn today, young Harry? I learned I can run faster with a knife than a gun, Mum.
I learned how to switch power to shields. Well, speaking of games that we've been playing, what have you been playing this week, Tucker?
Oh, yes. Oh, a great game.
Oh, it's a new
Blood
game
Dragon.
as well, isn't it?
Well, it's new to my Steam collection, but I think it's been out for almost a year now.
More than that.
Yeah, no, I started playing Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. And it did exactly what I wanted it to do. They took a 1980s action film and put it into a game. There's nothing groundbreaking about the game in any way. It's just the fact that it's the first FPS I've played that has been hilarious for me to do so. Just listening to the dialogue, like just this classical 80s dialogue is just so good. Like, because it's so terrible dialogue and completely incorrect in like most states when they talk about technology. Like, one of the guys says, "Quickly defend me while I recompile the motherboard." I'm like, facepalm.
The best part about that game is the trailer, because in the trailer it's like, it starts out like any sort of 80s Terminator style sort of movie.
That's exactly how it started out.
Yeah, but in the trailer it's like, in the near future, in 2007, after Vietnam 2.
Yeah.
And it's got the guy, the actor, what's his name from all the action movies? I forget his name, but he plays the main guy. Who also has some sort of awesome name. Isn't it like Wolf Laserskin or something like that?
Yeah, it's... Yeah. But the main thing is, like, the game is making, like, obvious that all these, like, how incorrect the terminology is, just how stereotypical it is, and it makes it so funny that I'm often laughing whilst playing the game. So,
plus laser-eyed dragons.
Yes.
There is that.
They're awesome.
What more do you want?
Yeah. The story behind Blood Dragon's quite interesting. Not the story in the game, it's not interesting at all. But it's very funny.
It's
Well, I was traumatized when they turned Canada into nuclear wasteland. Just
it's
Vietnam War 2.
Yeah. It's the story behind it is so Far Cry 3 comes out and some guy just went up to Ubisoft and said, "I've got this idea for a sort of a spin-off game, either DLC or an expansion or something. Here's a script. Do you want to read it?" So Ubisoft, it's just a guy. It doesn't even work for Ubisoft. Ubisoft read it and goes, "Holy shit, this is awesome. Quick, get him before he gets to someone else." And so they go, "Okay, how do you plan to make it?" And he goes, "Just give me a team of 30 people and I'll get it done for you in 6 months. And give me the Far Cry 3 engine." And he did, and that's how the game was made. And then they go ahead and they don't release it for $80 or $60 or even $50. They release it for fucking, $30, $40. It was not just a really cool game, but it was a really cool little story inside video game development. When they released the first trailer for it on April 1st, so everyone just thought it was a joke. And then April 2nd comes by, and they're like, no guys, we're serious. We're making this game. This is a real thing. So, and they didn't make you require to have Far Cry 3 to play it. So I thought that was really, really cool of them.
Yes, I did buy it.
Hmm.
But then I realized it needed Uplay. You know what I did with the disc? I threw it out.
See, that's the problem with discs, Harry. But we played Ghost Recon.
I know, so later on I was finally convinced by you guys to play Ghost Recon, because it was a group thing and I wasn't going to be a stick in the mud about that.
Mm.
But, I literally threw that game in the bin because I was like, what? No, I want Steam, and I want Steam only.
Okay, well, you
it.
can insert, because I got through Steam. So just launch Steam, add the game to your Steam library, which then
And it
open up
launches
Uplay. And then you just click
But
OK.
what's the difference? You just click OK. You never have to use Uplay.
The thing that got me miffed was that literally nowhere on the box does it say it requires Uplay.
It's got a
I
massive
checked it, and I
Ubisoft
double-checked
logo.
it and triple-checked it. I looked all over it, and nowhere does it say. I threw it out, and then I pulled out my old Half-Life 2 disc. And even on that original thing, it says at the bottom, requires Steam. So I was just... I felt Ubisoft were just being a little bit too crafty, so... Nah.
I think putting Ubisoft logo on it means it's going to be on Uplay. That's just a given. You know?
I didn't even
Yeah, I
know
can't
that
expect
Uplay... Well, actually, it was my first introduction to Uplay. I had no idea what Uplay was, and so, of course, since I'd never heard of it, I didn't trust it.
So, you launch it up, Uplay launches, you're like, what the fuck is this shit? Eject, break disc, throw the disc out. You don't even attempt to play it, don't have a good time like everyone else. You're like, no, I must do this so that in 6 years I can tell everyone on the podcast how badass I was when I threw that disc out.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't throw the disc out. I sold it on eBay, I just recall. So, I got my money back.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Sucker.
Okay, well, put it this way, Harry, do you enjoy, 1980s, stereotypical action movies?
Yeah, I do.
Then you
That's
will
why I
fucking
bought
love
it.
this game, because it is awesome.
It's great, Harry. It's a really great game.
It's a lot of dumb fun.
Exactly. It's just, you will have a good time.
Hmm.
Good time funds will be had.
Now, Harry, what have you been playing this week?
Well, I've been playing the same game that Andrew has been playing this week, although he's probably played a lot more of it than me, and that is the new Wolfenstein game.
Oh, time
So,
for a duel discussion!
I will allow Andrew to launch the opening volley.
Okay, so Wolfenstein: The New Order. It's made by Machine Games and published by Bethesda. It's available on Steam for $80, although I got it at half price because of the sale. It's set in the 1960. The Nazis rule the world because we lost World War II. The player character, what's his name? William
B.J. Blaukowitz, or whatever his name is.
from hereafter known as BJ, has been in a mental asylum for 14 years because in the first scene of the game you get hit in the head by shrapnel, so you go loopy. So you spend 14 years sitting next to a window in a mental asylum, but you wake up and recover just in time to save a young Polish nurse by stabbing a Nazi in the neck. That is Wolfenstein. You stab Nazis in the neck.
And then from then on, it's pretty much the same story as all the other Wolfensteins, right? It's
Well, no, it departs from. I mean, I believe you end up killing Hitler, but it's Wolfenstein. Basically, the story's a
kill
joke.
Hitler in every Wolfenstein.
Exactly. It's
Except it's always
Wolfenstein.
Mecha Hitler in the other ones. I don't
Well,
think
it's
he's a
Mecha Hitler in this as well.
Ah, good, okay.
So he's
It's
in a
always
robot with
Mecha
two machine
Hitler.
guns.
So the story's a joke. It's Wolfenstein. You're not there for a story. You're there to stab Nazis in the neck. When you first start playing it, it feels like a very old shooter.
Right.
Like back in sort of Half-Life days. You could call it sort of the stupid era of shooters, where they're all very, very simple game mechanics with very little variation. But the one thing I will say about it is what is there, the mechanics, they're very, very well polished. They all work better than they have in any previous game. Although there's hardly anything there. And it's very easy to understand it, everything works, it's not difficult. It feels like an old shooter, basically. Which, there's nothing wrong with that, because they're a lot of fun. The one thing, in terms of difficulty, the game isn't hugely challenging, or at least I don't think it is. The AI can be surprisingly intelligent at times, like they'll try and outflank you, which I haven't really seen since playing Halo or Fear. The gunplay is it's pretty good, I must admit. different weapons have different ranges, and they work quite well in those areas, although nothing really beats running down a corridor with 2 shotguns, just turning everything to a fine red paste. And honestly, at the end of the day, you're there to play Wolfenstein, to hold 2 shotguns in either hand and kill everything in sight. This isn't a serious game. Although one major gripe, it takes itself way, way too seriously. I don't know what people's obsession with demonizing the Nazis are. They did a pretty damn good job of that themselves.
Oh, I thought you were going to go the complete other way with that sentence.
Hitler was right.
I thought you were going to
giving it such a hard time.
I thought you were going to be like, I don't understand what everyone's deal is with the Nazis.
They
They
weren't
were
so
alright.
bad.
They were, at the very least, they were efficient. You know, I didn't know which way you were going to go with that.
No, that being said, I am captivated by how offensive this game is. Like, I understand history goes to the victor and all that,
You are
but
the white American.
it's like, it's so bad, it's the opposite of educational. So, I mean, the game starts with you in a flying fortress, right? A alternate version of the B-52 bomber. Okay. We lost Andrew again.
No, I'm
No,
here.
he's there.
No,
It's
yeah.
1946, and you're attacking Death Head's fortress.
Yes. Yes, that's right. He's got a Doom Fortress. Now, Americans made a bit of a mistake in World War II by overestimating just how much could be shot out of those flying fortresses before they went down. And the game starts with the absolute colossal hell being blown out of these planes, but they're still more or less flying. It's as if this game is going out of its way to prove not only are Nazis absolutely just evil incarnate, but that America was actually that awesome and that they did that well back in World War II. If America had been that good in World War II in real life would have lasted all of 5 minutes.
Well, these are all complaints that should be leveled at Wolfenstein in general, not this Wolfenstein.
The other ones had a certain fantasy aspect to it, I noticed.
Yep,
This
this-
has abandoned the paranormal aspect.
Oh, okay.
Which, in this instance, normally I love paranormal in video games, but I think it helps the game here. It's an interesting one. It takes its main problem. If it was not taking itself so seriously, then the over-the-top America's here to save the day. Like, okay, so BJ is ultimately the only American left in the game, but he's still the white guy.
Well, they're all white guys, but
Well, they're all Europeans, but
This
he's
is
the
Europe.
American white guy.
yeah.
So he's the only guy with an American accent, and that means he can get shit done.
Mm.
Doesn't matter that he's been stuck in a vegetative... Oh, yeah, that's another great thing. He's been sitting in a wheelchair by a window for 14 years, and he gets up, and there's one thing saying, ow, my head hurts. My legs are like jelly. And now I'm a lethal killing machine again, because I am American, and the power of freedom is within me.
It wasn't that bad. I mean, there was that British dude right at the beginning. Now, that
the
guy
Scottish
kicked ass. Was he Scottish? Oh, boy. He was rough as nails. He's fixing a plane while it's just blowing up, and then he just jumps to another plane because it's finally blown up, and then helps that plane out. This guy just indestructible. Does not give a shit. He would catch bullets in his mouth. And he wasn't American, so points to that.
But he was from the West. He was from the Allies. I don't know why you guys are giving this game so much shit when it's...
I really like it.
Yeah, but
It's just that the
it's
story
not
is
to
a
be
joke.
It's not to be taken seriously.
Well, the
Wolfenstein
problem
never is.
No, the problem that I have, and the reason why we're giving it stick, is because this one takes itself too seriously.
If it
But
didn't,
there's-
though, if it didn't, it would fall.
If it
too
didn't,
close
I
to-
wouldn't be taking the piss out of it. But
No.
the problem is that it's trying to be over-the-top serious, and hence my complaint that they're trying to demonize the Nazis when you don't really have to do that because they did it themselves. It's like, you're sitting there going, they're the ultimate evil, like, we're aware of this, we've studied history. No, you don't know how evil they are. Like, yeah, we do. Okay, we get it. Yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, we didn't need to see any of that, we already know. Oh, God, and it just goes on and on and on and
Yeah,
on
but
and on.
that
and
seems that's like the hallmark of Wolfenstein. Though that's the whole thing of Wolfenstein.
Yes, but unfortunately, so like in as I was saying earlier, Blood Dragon, the game's a joke. It's meant to be a joke. It's taken as a joke. So it takes all of those 1980s movie tropes, throws them in for a big laugh because it's all a big joke. This takes all of the cliches, the stereotypes, and the tropes from like ultimate evil Nazi war games and war movies and that sort of thing, and then throws it into something which is meant to be taken completely and utterly seriously, and it just doesn't work. If it was a joke, which the previous Wolfensteins were, that'd be fine. I wouldn't care. And ultimately, the story in this doesn't mean anything, so we're arguing about nothing at the end of the day.
That's true.
But it takes itself way too seriously.
Yeah, I just feel that if it did more jokes, it would come out like a Duke Nukem Forever.
Anything but that.
Well, there is that issue. It is a very good game, but I mean, the story is, at the end of the day, irrelevant because it's Wolfenstein. You know, it's the story in any World War II game is irrelevant. You're there to kill Nazis.
Yeah, I don't care how evil the Nazis were. They weren't anywhere near as evil as what's in this game. Now that's a pretty offensive. No, that's a pretty offensive statement to make. But I mean, come on,
it's not
you
offensive. What are you talking about? That's
Harry.
It's Wolfenstein.
Come on, they've got
Wolfenstein.
people splayed open and dogs that have been mutilated and super soldiers that were once men. Okay, yes, Holocaust, all of that happened. That was pretty freaking grim, okay? But I'm sorry, nowhere in history did they do this thing to dogs and super soldiers and
Sure
stuff.
they did. The Japanese certainly did.
Well, the SS was so pumped up on Novocaine at times, they had to fill them full of a sedative after they came back from combat, which put them to sleep for 2 weeks to recover. They did medical experiments on undesirables, so people with physical or mental deformities. They experimented on Allied prisoners.
Yep.
They did a hell of a lot of things. There was the wife of the commandant of Auschwitz. She had lampshades made from tanned human skin. They did a lot of really nasty crap, more than what most people know.
Yeah. Look, like I said, truth is pretty bad, but doesn't this game end with you versing, Robo Mega Hitler or something?
Yeah, Mega Hitler. Well, that's the ultimate joke in Wolfenstein. And at the end, our argument throughout the whole thing, which we've all agreed upon, is that this game is taking itself too seriously. It's like if Duke Nukem suddenly decided it was a serious game. He'd be like, no, this doesn't work. This game is meant to be a joke.
Andrew, that's the worst thing. Duke Nukem, every now and then, did try to take itself seriously, and you saw what we got.
Yeah, fair enough. But the thing is, this isn't like that. This is actually, I think it's a really good game. But I don't think it's a good game because its story is good. I think it's a good game because it's taken what I loved about the older generation of shooters. I'm going to compare it to Metro Last Light here. Metro Last Light, in my opinion, is the best that a modern shooter can bring to the table. A modern single player can bring. It's sophisticated. It's got a lot of game mechanics. It's immersive. It's in depth. It's got a hell of a lot of that sort of thing going for it. Whereas Wolfenstein is incredibly simple. It's not in depth. It's not sophisticated, but it's not meant to be. It's meant to be simple, it's meant to be stupid, and it's meant to be fun, which is what it is, as opposed to the sophistication and the immersion that is Last Light. This is dumb fun.
Yeah,
And
Metro.
it is just that at the end of the day.
Metro is Half-Life 2, and Wolfenstein is Wolfenstein.
Well, no, this is from a similar generation of Half-Life 2. Like, story and characters aside, the game mechanics are like that, whereas Metro Last Light is a very sophisticated, well, in my opinion at least, a very sophisticated shooter in the way it works. It's game mechanics. And that's one of the reasons I love it so much. But this is very simple. I mean, Half-Life 2, its game mechanics were very simple.
No.
It's
the physics
pick
thing.
up, gun, kill. Okay, so the physics engine,
Yeah,
really.
Metro, shitty stealth, get shot once you die. I'm not a fan of Metro, so let's put that aside. But what I mean is, everyone compares Metro to Half-Life 2. It's the Half-Life 2.
Every shooter gets compared to Half-Life 2.
Because Half-Life 2 did it right,
Well, Half-Life 2 is the greatest shooter of all time.
Yeah, but Wolfenstein is Wolfenstein. What I mean by that is literally take Wolfenstein... What was it? Wolfenstein 3D.
2009.
Well,
was the last one.
Oh, I didn't even know about that. That was a bad one, apparently.
Yeah, it didn't do terribly well.
No, but this one seems like literally take Wolfenstein 3D, which was the first 3D shooter ever, and then just update it with better graphics and.
That's more or less what it is. It's an old school shooter, and that's what I loved about it because it's got the sophisticated modern shooters. They're great, but for a very different reason. This is fun because you pick up 2 shotguns, charge in a corridor, and just turn everything into mincemeat. No other reason needed to buy this game other than that.
My favorite bit was when I gunned down like all the Nazi officers had like dinner or something, and I've gunned down the room, and then you can just walk up to all the huge bowls of food and just scoff it all down for health.
Oh, yeah, it does have the Bioshock thing where you run through pressing E everywhere, pick up ammo.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that
Food,
so
food,
much.
food,
I didn't like
eat
that,
dog
but
food.
I do really like the fact that it has med kits. It has a health meter.
Do they go, when you click it, tap E and hold it, do they go zzz, 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 and fill you back up?
No, you just pick them up.
Oh, okay.
But it is nice to have that system in it. What else is good is that it doesn't. It's a linear game, but there's sort of it's got multiple routes to achieve objectives. But it's not like Crysis or Far Cry or anything like that. It's a linear game, but it doesn't hold your hand. It does respect. This is your objective. Go find it. And you're like, okay, imagine the Call of Duty generation going, but objective markers and what do I do? What's a map? Ah! Running away scared because they don't like the brain because they like the brain power to figure it out. So I like the lack of hand holding.
Right, Tucker, are you going to play Wolfenstein after hearing these glowing and or not glowing reviews?
Well, I'll say this: the last Wolfenstein I played was on like a very, very, very old Mac. Yeah, back in the 8-bit days, like 8 or 16 bits. So yeah, no, I saw it and then I saw it on Steam at the discounted price, and I still didn't buy it.
Yeah, so did I. I'm not going to buy it. If it doesn't have different enough game, it either has to have different enough gameplay, or it has to have, shitty gameplay but a good story. If it has a shit story and standard gameplay, then I'm a little on the fence about it, to be honest.
That's fair enough. I can understand that a lot of people won't buy it because of that, because it's got literally nothing new to bring to the table, because it's old. It feels old.
It's got, who was it who said quantity has a quality of its own? It has so much to bring. I mean, the sheer size of the Air Force Armada that you're in, this is just the opening.
It does feel epic.
Like
times.
if it's got spectacle,
Huge.
I mean,
It's got spectacle.
If these things are called spectacle shooters, right? Call of Duty never has any new gameplay, but it's a spectacle. It's like a roller coaster ride. It's very linear, but you get to, you have a wingsuit and you go and attack this base and you do this thing, you do that thing,
It's got all that.
If it's got that sort of thing, I'd be into it. But the way you guys described it was, it's just Wolfenstein 3D with new graphics. So we
were just. Sorry, you go first, Andrew.
They brought some of the modern aspects of gaming along, but really not enough. Like spectacle shooters, the problem with that is like, here's an amazing scenery. Now you're going to just go down and it's the same problem I had with Titanfall. You wind up, I'm in another stupid town fighting another bunch of idiots. It does suffer from that a bit, in that you see these massive open areas and then you wind up in a succession of grey corridors. Because you go through Berlin at one point, and you just want to think, okay, it's this massive concrete monstrosity. It's the heart of their, broken, utterly ruined empire, and now you're just going to throw me into a prison and I'm going to fight through corridors. So it's got that problem.
Right. Tuck, you've just mentioned something in the chat, Rise of the Triad. That was meant to be Wolfenstein 2, right?
Yeah, and that was a very old game as well. I remember playing Rise of the Triad, like, back on 95 and 98 or something, so...
They really did that.
Did they?
Yeah, they made it.
You could buy it on Steam. Apparently it wasn't great.
No, exactly. I was like, I'd play this before I play Wolfenstein, but...
Yeah, well, it was meant to be Wolfenstein 2, and then they just changed a bunch of stuff, so there's no Nazis.
Yeah.
And also developed by 3D Realms, who are famous for Duke Nukem Forever.
Yep.
And Duke Nukem in general. Well, Duke Nukem Forever was Gearbox once 3D Realms gave it over, but that aside.
Although it is only $3.
I don't care. I pirated that game and I still wanted my money back.
Well, what I've been playing this week is I've just started playing it, so I'm going to be very brief about it and talk more about it next week. But there was a Kickstarter game 2 years ago. You guys have heard of Elite, right? The old Elite series, like literally 30 years ago, one of the very first video games. It was a space sim. And you know the usual space sim stuff where you trade and you fight and you build up you go back and forth between commodities markets and build up your money and fly around space, different like procedurally generated star systems. It's sort of like what taken to its ultimate level is that's now what EVE Online is. But back in the day, 25 to 30 years ago, Elite was sort of the thing. And so there was a Kickstarter by the guy who created the first Elite a couple of years ago. So I donated to it back when I had a stupid amount of money because I was an idiot and I spent it all. $180.
Wow.
Good lord, man.
Yeah, but now it's finally out. At least the beta is. So it gave me stuff like all the development stages I get access to and expansion packs in the future and blah, blah, blah. So I feel like the money was worth it. But anyway, the game itself is stupid amazing. It is... I don't know how to describe it. Like, when you first see that video of Star Citizen and the things you can do in Star Citizen, but then you realize, oh wait, Star Citizen's not coming out till 2016 or 2017. This is the game to play until then. There's so many... every star system is procedural. The graphics are beautiful. The space stations you go to, the way you've got to dock, and the actual flying of your ship is really, really complicated and actually takes skill. It's not just like flying a helicopter or something in Battlefield, which, I'm so good at that. It's
especially when drunk.
Yeah, it's so amazing and it's got so much potential, and so they're pretty much slowly expanding out the bubble, I guess, of the galaxy you can go to. But there's apparently 2.8 billion star systems you can go to, or something like that. So they're all procedurally generated. And so until No Man's Sky and until Star Citizen come out, this is pretty much the best that we'll go.
Well, No Man's Sky hasn't been announced for PC yet.
It has, actually. The guy said in an interview that it will be PC. Yeah, there were a lot of rumors about it'll be PS4 only.
Well, that was dispelled when the beta was going to be on Xbox.
Yeah, and so but that's just like what Destiny's done, which is PlayStation's given them a bunch of money for them to associate themselves with the PlayStation brand. However, it will come, just like Destiny, it will come out on Xbox, and in No Man's Sky case, it will come out on PC. So, anyway, so I'll talk more about that next week. I just wanted to sort of give you guys a hint at what I've been playing. Is there anything else from you guys this week?
Bit of a in-episode FU.
Mm-hmm.
They're bringing out a brand new Raspberry Pi.
Yes.
Okay. I'm glad.
Right, I just thought we'll talk about it earlier. They're bringing out a new one. It's smaller, uses less power, and it has a micro SD port and 4 USB ports.
Right. Good.
Yeah, I know, it's very interesting.
It is interesting.
It's interesting to Tucker.
Yeah,
it's exciting. Now, next week, we're going to talk about it this week, but we'll talk about it next week instead. Me and Tucker are planning on having a little discussion about his app development and whether he should go mobile app or like native or a web app. And so, if Harry and Finney, if you want to do some reading up on that, we could have a 4-way discussion.
So maybe we should give like a quick summary or like a big overview of what we're probably talking about. Definitely talking about jQuery Mobile. I'd like to test Angular and Ionic sometime this week. That's pretty much Google's attempt into the mobile market. Probably Intel's XDK, and then obviously Apple's Xcode and Google. So, and then I'll just say Android. Because,
yeah.
I have so many opinions on this matter.
Good.
I have almost none.
Excellent.
So we'll have John defending, iOS the entire time.
You as well, Tucker, because you're going to buy a Mac.
Yeah, well. Yeah. Okay, alright. Now I have to say this. Apple is literally will force you to buy a Mac if you want to have any sort of attempt at making an app for iOS. It's just, there's no other way you can do it.
Of course.
Oh, sorry, there are other ways you can do it, but it's a pain in the fucking ass, and half time they'll blow up in your face. So Apple...
It does kind of make sense, though, when you think about it. You want to
I
develop
do, but it just annoys
for
me
them?
that I have to spend $1,000...
It's like I want to develop for Xbox, but I don't want to buy an Xbox.
Yeah, what kind of stupid question is that, Tucker? Of course you need a Mac.
No, but I don't want to fucking spend $1,500 to $2,500 on a Mac.
Well, you don't have to. Just spend $550 and you can have my wife's laptop.
Here we go. Yeah, alright. Well, I can do... Well, I spent $800 to bring up to scratch. Yeah,
Tucker. Yeah. Speaking of awesome Macs, I've just picked up my family Mac Pro. This is a G4 Mac Pro.
That's the one I saw at your place, right? That's
No,
the
no,
tower.
I'll
the
just
square
read
one.
out the specs on this absolute beast here.
bad
We
boy.
have a whopping 128 megabytes of RAM.
Oh.
We have a 30 gigabyte hard drive, okay? And, a multi-function CD rewritable optical drive.
I can tell right now, John's having the biggest Apple boner right now. It's just
Yeah, I know. This thing comes with a CRT monitor that literally requires 2 people to carry.
When did it come out?
This would be... when did G4 come out?
Late 90s, right?
Ooh, nah, I'm thinking just around 2000.
If it was,
Yeah.
Anyway,
if
I'm
it was
just-
late 90s or mid 90s, it would have been a piece of shit. But if it's after 97, it might be. Okay.
Hey, this thing comes with dual FireWire ports, alright?
Oh,
this is a
shit.
Mac Pro through and through.
settle
The
down.
screen's roughly the size of a small car.
Yeah. And I mean, you can get a FireWire to Thunderbolt adapter, so this thing is compatible. It does run
well,
Lion, so, you know.
it runs Lion,
It runs Lion. Not
Seriously?
Lion, Leopard, sorry.
Leopard. I was like, holy
Not
shit.
Snow Leopard, but Leopard.
Leopard.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can Leopard support Thunderbolt?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, if that's it from you guys, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight on Uninformed. Please subscribe to us on iTunes. Watch us and catch all our Uninformed Plays and Uninformed Clips videos on YouTube. Tweet us at Uninformed News or email us at uninformedpodcast@gmail.com. I'm John Clark,
I'm Harrison Leake.
I'm Andrew Fenn.
And I'm Matt Tucker.
and you've become Uninformed.